Fremantle docks on a hot summer afternoon. These thousands of sheep are being loaded for a long voyage to the Middle East. They've been trucked from farms across the southern half of Western Australia, quarantined for health checks in stockyards south of the port, and their fleece is shorn short to help keep them cool for the journey through the tropics. A biosecurity officer from the Federal Agriculture Department also monitors the stocking density and the condition of the sheep. She's accompanied by Dr. Herbert Rebben, an American-trained vet who's worked as a registrar at the Murdoch University Vet School.
Oh, that's these guys right here. These are A-weathers.
Yep. A-weathers. Yep. Okay.
And then the cattle are over there.
He's the Australian accredited veterinarian on board.
Okay.
I think everybody, even before all these changes, was working extremely hard to, maintain high animal welfare standards. And the simple reason is, I don't mean to sound too crude on this, but dead sheep don't pay any bills. Dead stock don't pay any bills. So, the bottom line is good animal welfare is actually good business.
Teams of spotters look out for the sick or injured, drafting off those not fit to travel. Western Australia is now the only state to export live sheep from Australia. The Kuwaiti-owned Al Masila is one of 4 ships that regularly travel between Fremantle and the Gulf states, with another exporter supplying Israel and Jordan. But since 2020, they're restricted to travelling during the cooler Northern Hemisphere months, between September and May, to reduce the risk of heat stress.
Reducing the stocking density on the ship, of course, has probably been a big help in regards to animal welfare, and making it just easier for sheep to move around freely, to get to feed and water without having to struggle, and then having plenty of time to rest comfortably has been big benefits. So, yes, the regulations certainly have helped.
The Al Masila has 10 decks divided into stock pens. Each holds around 50 animals. The 12,500 kilometre journey will take 2 weeks. This is where the animals will eat, defecate and sleep on a bed of sawdust. The crew are mostly Bangladeshi, and the stockmen pack the pens under the eye of Tiffany Davey.
So my role involves basically walking the decks and checking the livestock. I'm looking for anything that's sick, injured, anything that just might not be enjoying the feedlot life, and I'm also involved in sort of overseeing the crew on board. Who help with the care of the livestock. They do a lot of the feed and the water. So my role is to sort of support them in gaining confidence in handling the livestock and identifying anything that might need a bit of extra love.
This is the first time the ABC has been allowed to travel with a live export consignment from WA to the Middle East. It's been a controversial trade, with public concern about the welfare of the animals and what happens to them when they arrive. The speculation has been fueled by a lack of transparency. Exporters have deep suspicions of the media following the airing of footage showing dying sheep on the Awassi Express in 2017. The scenes of animal suffering shocked the nation. A subsequent review of the trade resulted in stricter guidelines around heat and stress management. But the media hasn't been able to report that firsthand until now. I've been given unrestricted access on this journey. Dr. Rebben has been a vet for more than 40 years and has worked on the live sheep export ships for the past 3 years.
We had a very good start with the crew doing a great job with the loading, and then after loading we do some minor distribution of stock, and that's to ensure that all of our sheep can have easy access to water and feed freely, and that they all have enough space that if they so choose they can all lay down at the same time. So that's a big plus for our animal welfare on the ship. The crew have been doing a fabulous job with their deck maintenance, keeping the water troughs clean and keeping the water troughs and the feed troughs full. So again, that there's 24-hour availability for all of our sheep to access feed and water.
The 15,000 new season lambs are a particular concern.
Tiffany and I know that this group is going to be more prone or susceptible to sickness because of their young age. And on the first day at sea, Tiffany found 60 sick lambs out of this group. And the following 2 days, she found another 50 more. They were depressed, dehydrated, off feed. They had some scours. And because of her quick intervention, we were able to get them on a treatment program quite quickly. And very happy to report that out of that 100+ sick lambs, we only lost one. So that's just a fabulous result.
3 times a day, starting well before dawn, Dr. Reb does his rounds of the decks, treating the sick animals brought to the hospital pens, injecting them with antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, painkillers, and drenching them with electrolyte and probiotic solutions. It's not an easy task when the ocean swell is running.
I hope you got that on film, because I'll give everybody a good laugh.
Typically, the mortality rate or the death rate that I have is about 2 sheep for every 1,000 that are loaded. So that's kind of about what I'd expect. But on this voyage, I'm very happy to report that that number, which I expect to continue, is going to be much closer to 1.
The crew receive a bonus if mortality is less than 0.5% of the shipment, and more if it's down to 0.25%. Out of the 59,165 sheep, 92 died, equating to a rounded figure of 0.16%.
So, as part of our daily routine, we do postmortems on all the sheep that are found deceased or that we euthanize. And what we're going to look for is any kind of trends where we might have a concern with disease going through. Just want to have a good feel for what's going on, and this is where we're going to get our ultimate diagnosis right here.
The reasons were recorded in his daily report, which is sent to the Federal Agriculture Department. Despite all the work to improve animal welfare outcomes, there's no doubt it's a challenging environment for the animals to adapt to after a life on open paddocks. Many of the decks have no natural light because there are no windows. As a car carrier, it didn't need them. 5 decks are below the ship's waterline, and along with the pitch and roll of the ship, down in the windowless lower decks, it's noisy. Combined with the sound of the ship's engines, 30 giant fan towers suck air from the top of the ship and pump it right through the decks. A constant 18-kilometre-an-hour wind blows across the animals. Sensors monitor the conditions and send alerts should humidity and temperature rise. And whilst the fans keep them cool, infection can spread quickly if it's not checked.
It's just one of those factors that with these young animals, they're growing, their immune system isn't quite as developed as well as the sheep which were born the year before, and they're just a little bit more prone to opportunistic infections.
One of the concerns about the live sheep trade is the amount of room available for sheep on these ships for the 2 weeks whilst they're travelling to the Middle East, and whether they can lie down in their pens during that long journey. So I set up some time-lapse cameras to watch them when there's no humans around.
Most animals found a space to settle and were able to freely move around to find the food troughs and water. While some of the pens with the robust older wethers were more tightly filled, the younger animals were more spread out. It was noticeable as the journey progressed, the animals became less flighty. They appeared to grow used to the close and regular proximity of humans.
I have a genuine passion, not just for agriculture, but for livestock or for animals. And I love playing a key role in ensuring that the welfare is above board. And, you know, these countries need to be fed, and I think it's really, really important to make sure they have access to this protein, but to make sure that the protein that they are getting access to has been delivered to them with the utmost care and highest welfare standards. So Australia does that really well.
The ship ran 8-hour shifts across 24 hours,
Passing 0707.
but once every trip. To mark the occasion of crossing the equator, they held an open barbecue and everybody joined in. After 2 weeks, the ship prepares to berth at the port of Kuwait. The El Masila's crew prepared to offload 48,000 sheep and 50 cattle in Kuwait before going on to discharge 6,000 sheep at Jebel Ali in the UAE and 5,000 at Muscat in Oman.
As Australian citizens, we should be extremely proud of our live animal export industry, because we are the only country in the world that right now is working actively in the welfare space to improve welfare and to continue to make improvements. Other countries simply and quite sadly don't care. So we're the ones that are doing the best, and I know there's some segments of the population that would like to see it banned, but I can only say that on a worldwide basis, by taking us out of the equation, that just means that animal suffering worldwide and is going to increase, and animal welfare standards worldwide will decrease, because without us here, leading the pack, so to speak, all of the things that we've learned through our changes in Australia are going to be completely for nothing then.